Hey folks, what's going on? Ben Wu here with Fishies with another episode of Fishies Live, the podcast that talks about all things fishing, multi-species throughout Atlantic Canada and the Maritime provinces. I can't believe we're already on episode 6. It seems like the time has just been flying by, but mark my words, we will do our very best to do this all winter long. I know winter is upon us. Obviously, the temperature has been dropping at a steady rate. Hope you guys who are hardcore and still into fishing are getting those bites in the late fall, because all anglers know some of the biggest bites come in the late fall, and that, of course, is in those areas that you're still permitted to go fishing. From our front, we are still fishing. Believe it or not, we're trying to wrap up our shoot for this season. We've got a couple segments left to shoot. We just came off an awesome weekend in Nova Scotia. But before I talk to you about that one, I bring on my partner in crime, and you know him as Donnie Patterson. What's going on, Donnie?
How are we doing tonight?
You know what? The theme tonight is the very best. Very best is our theme tonight. So if you're asking me how I'm doing tonight, I'm going to say very best. And I was just saying to the folks watching how we just came back from an awesome trip in Nova Scotia.
That was, to use the phrase, that was the very best. That was really an awesome weekend. I don't want to give away too much, but I do want to say I'm pretty excited for people to see the footage that came from that when this episode gets put together and goes to air, because it was really something else. I mean,
a lot of new experiences for you. I think
a lot of new experience, and I will admit, I know we're probably still building the number of viewers that are online here tonight. But probably one of my most emotional fish catches ever. It was really a pretty cool experience. And, when you're trying new species, new techniques, and doing things totally outside your comfort zone, it can really lead to some experiences and burn some memories into your mind that are going to last a lifetime.
Oh, I know. I was there. I seen that emotion emanating from you. So for those of you tuning in live, or if you're watching this after the fact, thanks for joining us. You're watching episode 6 of Fishies Live. Today, Donnie, we're going to be talking about, or tonight rather, we're going to be talking about something that's near and dear to us, right? It's almost at the very foundation of why we even created Fishies to begin with, and that is we're talking about the promotion of fishing, specifically within Atlantic Canada. Tonight, we've got some really interesting and knowledgeable guests. But before we get them on, I just want to maybe have a quick dialogue with you, Don. We've got some incredible resources here, right? Whether it's Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, in Atlantic Canada, there are some incredible resources. And over the weeks, I hope you folks at home have seen or have had the chance to take a look at what we're doing, whether it's through our website, whether it's through this podcast or the upcoming TV show. We are in it to promote sport fishing. And Donnie, I mean, the people that we have on tonight, I think certainly are part of that game, that whole mantra of promotion.
Without a doubt. And when you say promoting sport fishing, I think that really gives people a very narrow focus, when in reality it should be a very broad focus. Sport fishing, in my mind, is recreational fishing, catch and release fishing.
No, absolutely. Catch and release being a very important element to it. And I think the other
part of whether it's.
Could you repeat that last part, Donnie? I didn't catch you in the last part.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet tonight. It's acting a little funny, but we'll try and work through that.
Sure.
But no, what I was saying is it comes down to recreational fishing, catch and release fishing. It doesn't matter whether you're fishing for perch or striped bass or musky. That all falls into the category of sport fishing because you're doing it recreationally. It's a sport to you. And there's so many opportunities here on the East Coast that we haven't even come close to capitalizing on.
We're going to do our best, through our website and through our contributors, especially through TV, to showcase a lot of these opportunities. But to just switch gears into the guests that we have on for tonight, these guys have done an incredible job. maybe being forward thinkers, understanding what the resources they have, and leveraging those resources to convert a resource into potential economic impact and promotion for their, the regions that they represent. So without further ado, why don't we bring on our first guest, Don?
Before we do, let's just warn the viewers that these guys are really, really timid. It's hard to get them to talk. So
yeah, they're real timid. Why don't we bring the first timid fellow online with us? What do you say? All right, representing from the city of Fredericton, my hometown, of course, and a dear friend of mine, Mr. Bobby Despres. How are you, Bob?
Not too bad, gentlemen. How's everything going tonight?
First of all, we're very impressed that we can hear your voice, because we know normally you speak like a mouse. And
it's been known to happen. It's been known to happen.
Bobby, great to have you on with us tonight. We really plan on having some really great conversations and getting the viewers, who are our viewers? Our viewers are people who are fans of fishing. They're people who are passionate about fishing. They're people who are interested about fishing. And I think the dialogue that we're about to talk about is maybe something that isn't talked about enough.
Yeah, it's been known to happen. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry in Canada, sport tourism, and angling and utilizing natural resources is just part of it. And in the greater Fredericton area, we are blessed with the Woolastook, which in English is known as the St. John River, and in French is known as the Fleuve Saint-Jean. But it's a beautiful and bountiful river system that is on the traditional unceded territory of the Maliseet and the Micmac peoples. And, having a resource that's 673 kilometers long. Sorry, I'll repeat that. 673 kilometers long, starting in Maine, ending in the Bay of Fundy and St. John. Fredericton is just a small snippet of that riverway system, but you see a lot of folks out utilizing it. And what makes me happy is you see a lot of families participating in things together.
No doubt in my mind that Fredericton has a really strong advantage in its location, in its geographical location. When we're referencing the St. John River, if you look at it geographically, you're at the cusp of being on the head pond, right, which is just above the dam in MacTavish, and then of course Fredericton itself being located just down current from the dam, being on the lower St. John. So you might have heard us say this before. If you haven't been to the St. John River, especially in Fredericton and the lower St. John River, the first thing out of the gate, you don't need a fishing license, do you, Bobby?
Not at all. You're on tidal waters right here, and that's what makes it fantastic. Is our fishing seasons year round, and for those people coming in from away, like if I'm from Ontario or Quebec or at this moment the Atlantic bubble, I don't need a license, and I can come right into Fredericton. And the coolest part is, you can cast a line right behind City Hall, and it runs literally through our city. It separates the north side and the south side, but it also brings us together, because the river is really what holds us together.
No, it absolutely is. I mean, Donnie, recently we've been obviously filming, in the lower St. John, Fredericton area. I had the opportunity to go out with Bobby, and Bobby just mentioned that you could cast a line behind City Hall. Well, we're not going to give it away, but a portion of the show that we did in Fredericton, we actually stopped pretty much, absolutely within city limits, and did some sturgeon fishing.
Yeah, we 100% did, and you know what? That was a first for me. And everybody says they have a personal best. Well, the best part is I caught my first one, and it was my personal best. So we can leave it at that.
Very good.
And Ben, I think it's cool that you guys got out and you and Bobby tried something that was new to him. And just showed another layer of what Fredericton has to offer. But, without giving too much away, let's just say we filmed some pretty other cool footage inside the city limits.
Not
that long ago. Happening. Big things
good
happening.
Things are happening. And Bobby, why don't you tell the folks at home what anglers can expect as far as species are concerned within the Fredericton area that you're proud to mention here?
I think the easier question is, what species should we not expect in the Fredericton St. John River area? Like, from the
cod.
Yeah,
you don't have cod.
You could probably find something that you can pick out, Donnie. Way to go. Way to make things look negative right off the hop. But like you had your show last week and you talked about musky fishing. So that's the big and up and coming area right now for Fredericton, is everybody going for the giant trophy muskies, and we've highlighted those. different avenues. You have the, Musky Canada, St. John River chapter. Fishing Canada came in a few years back. Pete Bowman was here. Angelo's been here in the past, and they fished for, the giant muskie. And the coolest part about the muskie in the St. John River system, they have such an abundance of food to feed on because there are so many different species that they get girthy. Oh, girthy. You got to love her, right?
We're definitely going to circle back around to that. And, multi-species is the name of the game when it comes to Fredericton. And I think that obviously with that, I think two of the species I think may be most popular. And correct me if I'm wrong, Bobby, but I'm going to have to say that the smallmouth bass, right, is probably one, and musky, you just mentioned, is probably the two biggest draws for Fredericton. Am I right?
Yeah, 100%. And the next one I was going to talk about was smallmouth bass. And one of the coolest parts that, for me as a sport tourism coordinator was that Fishing Canada actually named the St. John River as one of the top 5 smallmouth bass angling locations in Canada. When you think of that as a natural resource that we have in our backyard, that a lot of people don't even realize is there. But, I can't quote Pete verbatim, but he did say that our riverway system probably has more bass per square foot than the St. Lawrence. And I'm going with that one.
Wow, very good. And so when it comes to smallmouth bass and let's call it musky, we're talking tourism. What can visitors expect? Are there any guides in the area that can help them out?
Absolutely. And you know what? Whatever your flavor of the day is, we have something here in Fredericton for you. So, a good friend of mine, Adam Foster, runs Strikeback Sportfishing, and he will take you out, whether it's kayak or motorboat, he'll get you out on the water, and he's done it with me. He's done it with people I know. He will get you on the fish. And you know what? Throughout the St. John Riverway system, he'll get you on anything in between, 2-pounders. And this past summer, he actually got me on my personal best of 4.18 pounds of a smallmouth bass. And you know what? I owe him a lot for that. Then you also have St. Johnny Socks, which is Marlon Prince. And Marlon will get you out on the muskie or he'll get you out on the bass. There's different things that they will both do. Both are very experienced guides. I've met both of them. Got to go shad fishing this year with Marlon, actually. And you know what? He is a class act. And he makes me laugh. And he's very educational as you go through. And the coolest part with both of these gentlemen is that conservation is at the utmost key for both of them. They understand the resource we have here. They understand that if we don't protect our resources and educate others on how to protect those resources, that resource is no longer here and or usable to us. So it's champions like those two gentlemen that literally lead the charge for us to market Fredericton as a sport tourism destination.
Yeah, and I think Fredericton is super lucky to have guides at that caliber that could welcome guests, provide a great experience, and teach them what they need to know about the conservation, and also leave with maybe a little bit more in their skill set and their toolbox, so that they can maybe, learn to catch more fish wherever they're from when it comes to those two species. Bobby, yeah, go ahead. I
want to jump in for a second because under today's climate, this is kind of an important question. We've got a friend up in Quebec, Scott Nagy, watching. And Scott has asked, and we are talking about tourism, so this is important. What are the rules regarding COVID fishing and out-of-province fishermen? Now, Bobby, you can probably be clearer on this if I don't get it right. But it's basically Atlantic bubble only right now.
Yeah.
Outside the Atlantic bubble, you have to get permission to come into the province, and then you have to self-isolate for 14 days and all that good stuff. Is that basically where it stands right now?
Yeah, absolutely. That's where the mandatory order for New Brunswick has us at this moment is, anytime somebody comes in from away, it's the self-isolation of 14 days. So unfortunately, COVID has thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of our plans, a lot of our angling plans. But, in the future, if you ever pop by Fredericton and you want some extra information on where to go, drop me a line and look us at tourismfredericton.ca, and I'll gladly help you with any of your angling needs. And I'll even point you to one of our brand new, fantastic little shops in town, the Minnow Tackle Shop, located on King Street. The worst part is it's literally a block and a half from my office, so this is going to cost me a lot of money.
Amanda, do you hear that? You've got Bobby's wallet in your pocket. I know she's watching.
Here's the sidebar story. I actually grew up with her. So
no. You got to tell us the whole story about the name and everything. We haven't confirmed this with Amanda. So here's the opportunity. Give us your theory here, Bobby.
Well, it's we're both from a small community just outside of Fredericton called Minto. And for those who live there and others who talk about it, it's referred to as minnow. The T kind of goes silent. And, it's just interesting. I was in there and, as simple as I can be at times, I did not realize that she totally played on words. And the minnow tackle shop goes back to our roots, our heritage. Coal mining's capital, New Brunswick, Minto, New Brunswick. So shout out to my hometown tonight. But it's great to see Amanda doing what she's doing. There's some fantastic products in there, and what she doesn't currently carry in stock, she'll gladly order for you. The customer service is unbeatable with her.
Yeah, later on we have Jeff and MacTavish representing Miramichi, and we're going to talk about the resources that we have for local shops. So super important that we're plugging them as well. You see Blair Cox has put up a comment here. I think you put a smile on your face, Bobby. My 2 biggest smallies were caught within city limits. And check this one out here. You might know him. I think we were just talking about him. As a guide, my guests are blown away that they can finish a meeting in the morning, get picked up at the Delta dock, catch fish all afternoon, and still make it back for dinner and drinks. A unique feature. Yeah.
Marlon, I told you not to tell people that I leave my meetings and meet you at the Delta to go fishing. I told you this. We can't have it going this way.
No. Okay. I have some more questions that I'd like to ask you. You're Bobby, you're in charge of sport tourism. So what kind of marketing or what kind of partnerships do you have recently that help showcase, what you have in your backyard is the St. John River?
Yeah, and you're bang on when it comes to partnerships because, as sport tourism coordinator, I don't have all the knowledge on everything. I don't have the ability to organize every single event. So you're leaning on a lot of partners all the time. So we've gone down different routes, and the Saltscapes convention is a big one that we hit up last year. I know you guys were in attendance. Adam from Strikeback Sport and Fishing went down as well. You went with a lot of our partners from Fredericton Tourism to promote the industry, to promote the city, and hopefully bring people up to stay and it's all about heads and beds and bringing people here, showing how fantastic Fredericton is and open. As we talked about earlier, websites such as yours, websites such as, St. Johnny Socks and Strikeback Sport Fishing, they emphasize what great of a resource and a bountiful resource we have here in Fredericton. And we've been very lucky that we've had some videos and television done. As I mentioned earlier, Fishing Canada was here a couple different times.
How about that?
Oh man, that's unreal. So that is actually a snippet of the YouTube video of episode 495 of Fishing Canada, where Pete went down a little bit lower than Fredericton in the Oromocto Gagetown area, and he landed this ginormous striper. The quantity may not be there in the St. John River as much as they are in the Miramichi, but look at that. That is a girthy straight bass. There's no, that's the Bobby Despres diet right there. Seafood, eat food, right? You can't beat that. And publications like Fish East is definitely bringing more attention to the actual market itself in Fredericton, the riverway system itself, and then Strikeback Sport Fishing. I know I go back to it, but he's done some amazing videos on our river, and he's always pumping up the fact that he's on the St. John River, right in the heart of Fredericton, and you can't beat that publicity. You can't.
I think you're being modest with how many things you actually have going on. So I'm going to put a few in here for you. I mean, there you are.
Yeah, that was the early days. So that was before I even knew what I was doing. Rick Green invited me out on Backwater Casting that's on Rogers TV locally here, and I was green. I was throwing a buzzbait of all things, and it was one of those days where Rick was out fishing me easily 10-1, and I think I got on a lucky couple, and it was fantastic.
I'll be honest, Bobby, I've fished with Rick. And yeah, it's not hard to have Rick outfish you 10-1.
Yeah, well, there you go. And the other thing, Bobby, hold on, let me just switch this over here. The other thing that you've really been kind of a front runner on, let's talk about this for a second. So I got a call. Well, I reached out to you a couple years back, and the idea of bringing a major, event to Fredericton across the table, we discussed it and we made it happen. Now, obviously, we don't have to talk about this year with COVID and everything, but the event that we did pull off, just a little over a year ago, was significant. And I wanted just to say, thanks to you and kudos to you for having the vision to maybe look beyond the regular box and try different things and try to find ways to attract people to your city. So that's just another example of, of how you've been doing that.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where sport tourism in Canada is an uber competitive market, and continuously battling Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and above all places, Charlottetown is actually knocking out of the park in regard to what they do. It was one of those ones where I'm continuously looking for the off-beaten path events. So yeah, the hockey, the basketball, volleyball events, they're mainstream sports, they're popular. But what I set out on a mandate to do was to take a look for events that were on the off-beaten path, or events that a lot of people haven't seen or have attended in New Brunswick before. And it just so happened I was looking for something on the St. John River. You called me, and the details came together quickly. I was hesitant, and I'll be brutally honest, I was hesitant at first. And one of the key things is for us in Fredericton is conservation. And we looked at your track record in regard to what you offered, the quality of product. And when I attended the Salaberry to Valleyfield event in fall of 2018, September, I was blown away. Chris and Corey Johnson were there. I got to meet Bob Azumi. Pete Bowman was there. It put a little, I don't know the word I'm looking for here, but it put some oomph behind it. So it made it worthwhile. And it was one of those ones that was pretty good to get in business with at the time. It was perfect.
Well, obviously with a great responsibility, great power and decision power comes great responsibility, like Uncle Ben said.
Spider-Man,
exactly. So here's an important question. As a sport tourism coordinator, though, what are some of the concerns I'd like for you to share maybe with the folks, when it comes to marketing a natural resource? Because, there's responsibility with that.
100%. So right off the hop, you have invasive species. And before you even put your boat in our waterway systems, there's signage all along the waterway systems that's alluding you to the invasive species. So one of the key ones we're focusing on right now is to ensure that you wash your boat before you go from one waterway to another. And this assists us in making sure that we don't transfer the Eurasian milfoil from one water body to another water body. So, we've seen studies in the past, and the Canadian Rivers Institute and UNB Biology are doing great work in regard to taking a look at the invasive species within the water and helping us identify ways that we can help anglers and boaters not distribute this invasive species to other areas. So, there's always concerns in that regard that by us promoting more people on the water, more things may happen. It comes down to a lot of different things. So there's boat safety. If we have yahoos on the water and they're not basically adhering to the rules of the waterway system, people can get hurt. Lives are lost. People drown every day. Even if you know how to swim, there's always issues. There's crashes. There's underwater obstructions. With the dam above us, the waterway system changes every year. We've been privy to a couple floods over the last couple, 2018, 2017, we've had some floods, and it doesn't bode well for us. Sorry, actually, it was 2018, 2019. 2020 is just a blur for me. And other things to consider is the proper handling of the fish. If we don't get those resources back into the water to live for another day, to grow for another angler, to have a young individual set their personal best on it, we're not doing our due diligence, from anglers or sport tourism people. We have to make sure that resource is always there. And then you have the irresponsible anglers. So the ones, for instance, who, it may not be a fish that they want to keep, but they just throw it onto the riverbank because they don't want it. Well, that's a resource that you're taking away from the future generations. That's disrespectful as a conservationist. And we just want to make sure that our resources are there for future generations. We can get all excited that we caught a 4-pounder, but what a lot of people don't realize, it takes 12 to 15 years for that fish to grow into a 4-pounder. It doesn't happen overnight. So if we don't protect our resources, and we're blessed right now, Minister Mike Holland in place, he is one who understands the resources we have. He's leveraging those resources, and he's setting us up in New Brunswick as a tourism destination for anglers. I know that was a long-winded answer, but it's the truth.
That is the truth, and you nailed it on that. And on that note, we're talking about, the future, right? We're talking about the future. So let's jump into the future, because future is always exciting to hear. Can you share with us a little bit about what your mindset is as far as the future of, maybe events or the promotion of fishing within Fredericton?
Yeah, and you know what? The future is bright. The future is exciting. So with all the groups that are locally, between Fisheries, B1, Strikeback Sportfishing, other other people that are on the waterway systems. There's also the NBSFA, there's the Rapala series, there's the Fredericton Anglers Club. I'm sure I'm leaving a few out, but those are partners that I've yet to tap into. And, you know, if everybody can come together and we can find harmonious relationships to ensure that the resources are looked after and events can take place on a regular basis, Fredericton can honestly become an angling destination. And in the tourism world, we talk a lot about the hub and spoke model. And what that would mean is, just because I'm coming to Fredericton doesn't mean that I need you to stay in Fredericton. You can go fish our sister cities in Nakwick, Woodstock, Perth, Andover, where there's fantastic bass fisheries. You can go downriver, the Gagetown and Ormuckto, but the hub and spoke comes to the fact that at the end of the day, I want you to come back to Fredericton and stay the night. You know, come enjoy our restaurants, take a trip on the Taproom Trail. There are a lot of different things that you can do. For instance, tonight we're down at an axe throwing area. Like, there are lots of things for you to do in the greater Fredericton area. You know what, Ben? I've heard you like history, so we'll send you up to King's Landing. You can have a good time. You know,
everybody keeps telling me to go to King's Landing. They say I'd like it.
Well, they said Donnie's beard will fit in just perfect, so we're just going to leave it at that.
It's not quite long enough yet, but I'm working on it. I'm auditioning for ZZ Top next week. So
awesome.
But no, and Ben,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
Bobby, I don't know if you remember this, what you just talked about, Bobby, as far as the hub and spoke, you know, and venturing out from Fredericton. The very first article I wrote for the Fish East website basically came back to saying just that if I was to plan a fishing vacation to New Brunswick, but I wanted to experience as much of it as I could, I would literally stay in Fredericton, and then I'm no more, whether that be go up to Miramichi or up to Perth Andover, down to St. John. You know, I'm literally, as far as the fishing goes, I'm going to be right in the middle of the best fishing that, you know, New Brunswick has to offer.
Absolutely.
And here's the visual for you. I mean, Bobby, what are we looking at here?
Right now, you're looking at the lower St. John River. So if you squint your eyes and look closely, is just off the clover leaf of the bridge. But what you see here is the Westmoreland Street Bridge, which is, I don't know, rumor has it it's notorious for boats that are trolling looking for some kind of fish. I'm unsure. Totally kidding. There's a lot of folks who fish that area. So for us, we can fish all the way up to Hart Island as part of our tidal water area. And along that riverway system, there's a plethora of areas to stop in, little coves, different fish. But what you'll see on the lower part, now you can take her away, it's fine. Those pillars for the old Carlton Street Bridge, they've been known to yield some bass. I'm just throwing that out there.
Do they use these guys? What about these guys?
The old white perch. This is my wife and I have a contest every year in which we try to see who catches the first fish. Then whoever catches the first fish of the year get bragging rights. So we went early spring white perch fishing, actually with you, Ben. Mm-hmm. And I landed this one. It was gale force winds that day. I walked uphill in snow both ways to get to this spot. And you know, at the end of the day,
the fish didn't care.
I mean, it's like the old school system. So anyway, took that selfie, sent it to my wife, had bragging rights for the next little while. Awesome. The couch was fantastic to sleep on too. It's like camping.
I don't want to know about that couch. Bobby, what has been, before we close this out, you've provided such great information. What has been, in your opinion, maybe the biggest surprise of working? You know, I know you're working with regular sports and all that type of stuff, but within you know, the fishing promotion, what has been your biggest surprise?
My goodness gracious. I'm literally fiddling with something right in behind, but it's honest to goodness, it's the passion and knowledge of the anglers. You know, it's one of those things where there's old stories where an angler won't share their hole with you, their fishing hole, but they'll teach us techniques. They'll tell you what you did wrong and how you can do it better in the future. And one of the coolest parts I've honestly really enjoyed about working with anglers is the conservation aspect, and to see the knowledge and the actual love that a lot of anglers have for the natural resource that's in a riverway system, and the amount of care and the amount of, you know, I'll be honest, the amount of money that anglers put into their setups to ensure that they can return the fish back to their natural habitat in the quickest and safest way possible. It's unreal. It's a beautiful thing. Like, and it's, as I said, all these anglers are open to sharing tips and tricks, just not their fishing holes.
We're going to do our best this season. show to show you guys a hole or two. Don't you worry about that. That I can promise you. Hey, Bobby, thanks so much for joining us. You're going to stay put. We're going to bring you back so we can have a little discussion at the end. But ladies and gentlemen, that was Bobby Despres representing the city of Fredericton.
Thanks, Bobby.
Bobby, you got to love Bobby. I mean, Bobby's one of the reasons I'm even here, to be honest with you. When I say I'm even here, if it wasn't for the conversations between you and with Bobby and arguably, the gentleman I'm also going to bring on a little bit later on today, these are one of the reasons how I find myself today to be a maritimer. So,
we were really lucky to get into, get in contact with Bobby there a couple years ago. And, he's a great asset for the city of Fredericton and a great ambassador, even though he may not think of it as himself. He thinks of himself as more sports in general, but he's a great ambassador for the fishing community.
Just want to share a quick comment here from BJ Oikel. One of my favorite parts of sport fishing is the relationships we develop with other anglers. Couldn't agree with you more. Absolutely cool. All right. So let's see. Is there any other things we want to share here, Don?
I think we're good right now. I think we need to bring some other guys on.
Oh, absolutely. This guy, I had the pleasure of meeting this gentleman just maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I first discovered Miramichi. And I was fortunate enough to be able to come to the Miramichi by means of a television show that I was a part of called L'Heure Juste in Quebec. And we had the opportunity to come experience it as from a competitor point of view and walk away with an incredible experience and literally an experience that changed the course of my life after having been a part of that event. So I'm going to bring him on right now. Jeff MacTavish from the city of Miramichi. How are you, Jeff?
Hey, Ben, I'm great. How are you guys doing tonight?
Oh, I'm fantastic. How's everything down in the Shee?
Water's lovely, nice and calm tonight. I think the boats are just getting off. Still lots of fishermen out there.
I'll tell you what, we were up there, what would that be, 2 weeks ago, Don?
About 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks ago now.
3 weeks ago, and there were a ton of boats. We were there to shoot something to let people know that, hey, fishing in the fall is just as spectacular. But I guess we weren't the only ones that had that idea.
The secret was already out.
Yeah, we were trying to keep that one secret for a little bit longer, but it's too late. It's we're seeing an increase of boats. It's costing us more money to keep our docks in, but it's worth every minute of it.
Well, there you go. Jeff, you know what? Thanks for joining us tonight. And the theme tonight is, of course, tourism and the promotion of fishing. And let's be honest, the city of Miramichi is at the forefront of that. I mean, when it comes to, if you think about Maritimes, if you think about New Brunswick, if you think about, events and tourism and an attraction that's based, its very foundation on sport fishing, the striped bass fishery that Miramichi has to offer is second to none and is certainly unique. How did this all start? I need to hear a little bit about have the stripers always been there? Is this something that just happened recently? Let's go back 5-6 years to before, the Striper Cup came about.
Yeah. So yes, I guess to answer your question, the striped bass are always here in the river system. They're a native fish. Their stocks have gone up and down. Commercial fishing, quite a few years ago, almost wiped them out, into extinction. But with some great recovery efforts, some great conservation efforts, we've seen a significant rebound in those fish, especially in the last 5 years. So my part, I started my role with the city of Miramichi doing economic development. But in Miramichi, tourism is always a part of economic development. There's lots of business that's growing. It's certainly an economic driver here in our community. And my colleague was getting ready to retire, and I was posed with a question of maybe amalgamating the two departments. And they basically asked me what I would do. And I said, I'm actually considering doing a fishing tournament. And they said, a what? I said, a fishing tournament. And they had no idea what I was talking about. And I really, to be honest with you, didn't have any idea what I was talking about. But, be the best at what you do and outsource the rest is one of those philosophies that I kind of strive. So I went out and I luck be a lady, I had one of the best guys to ever reach out to me the very next day, just so coincidental. And we'll talk to him a little bit later. So, but it was really luck. I had heard about the fishery, about the increased numbers, about the amount of people that were enjoying it. I had never tried striped. Well, I caught striped bass before, but I didn't know what they were. We'd let them go. We just know we couldn't keep them. And, we'd fish as kids, for, small brook trout and little speckled trout, but nothing like the stripers when I actually got to get into a boat and get over the top of them and pull in 30 or 40 in a couple of hours, like till your arm's sore. So when we really started this, we didn't know what we were doing, but we brought in some really good people and we pulled everything together in a short window, and from the rest is history. We've got one of the best events going on in Atlantic Canada right now, certainly the best striped bass event, and we're really couldn't be any excited. Like this year was kind of a bummer, but we're going to get back at it again next year.
I'll tell you what, I think you're being very humble. I'm going to say it like it is because I have fished events all across the country in 6 different provinces. And I'm going to say that the Striper Cup, for the record, is by far the largest organized competitive catch and release fishing event that there is. Period. That's not even arguable. And anybody can call me out on that. You will be wrong. There is no question it is the largest event. But before we get into the Striper Cup, I have a critical question I've always wanted to ask. And that is, when I first heard ever about the Miramichi, it most certainly was not about stripers. The Miramichi has always been synonymous with salmon and salmon lodges, and it still has incredible lodges on it. I guess my question to you is, how did that work when you had to create a message, right, from a marketing standpoint, promotional standpoint? Here you are with the river with a name so synonymous with salmon, and all of a sudden you want to flip it on its head and tell them, but hold on a second, we also have stripers.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Even before we started this tournament, I was bringing in film crews to actually film Atlantic salmon fishing. We look at tourism in the Miramichi as a regional. So we you talked to Bobby earlier. Our Miramichi River goes almost to Fredericton. That's it's not 600 kilometers long, but with the 2 branches, it's about 220 kilometers long. Most of that is inland waters. So you do have a lot of salmon lodges. And when you're trying to change, the branding of an area, when you think salmon country and you think Miramichi, and now all of a sudden you're saying, wait a minute, it might be striped bass country. It's tough, but we went at it like surgeons. We actually started talking at a local level, getting that message out, getting the local people to talk about it. People started posting videos. We had a couple of shows down in Moncton, and people were like, "You're going to do what? You're going to start a striped bass tournament, Miramichi? You guys don't have any bass down there." But once they came, they found out we certainly do.
Oh, they most definitely do. But okay, so here you are. You have this idea. You hook up with Jeff Wilson, who we're going to bring on in a bit, like you said. You now know that there are some great striped bass to be had, right in downtown Miramichi. What are the investments? I mean, like what type of commitment are you now saying that you need to put towards this fishery, towards promoting this opportunity? Like, how's that work?
Yeah. So, we have an amazingly supportive council and some great departments that partner with us. So my department's 3 guys. We got no equipment, no facilities, no nothing. We just got a bunch of ideas, big mouths, and we like to have a lot of fun. That's what tourism's all about. But we got some great partners in our public works department, our recreation department, fire, police, all the guys, all those sporting guys, they all come together and make this happen. So we continue to invest in our docks that go along our different wharfs. So I think you guys had visited Ritchie Wharf while you were here. You were also at Station Wharf. Like, we put in $8 million to make that experience a little bit better.
Wow, $8 million. Okay,
$8 million to make that experience better, so that people visiting public can leave their boats there overnight. They can park their trailers in the parking lot. To make that experience better, to get access to the water. We all know that there's some areas that it's beautiful. You see a beautiful river, but how do you get to it? So what Miramichi's done is we've put some money back into our docking systems, into our wharfs, and even next year we're planning on building a new system to make it even easier to get a little bit closer to those fish that are not quite in the boundaries of the city of Miramichi, but to make it easier to leave your trucks, trailers, and all that big money you're spending in a safe area. So.
So there's no question. Sorry, go ahead, Donnie. You had a question there.
Jeff was talking about expanding the docking facilities and the launches, and we were there in the fall, and I'm somewhat ashamed to admit this, Jeff, but I have yet to be up in the spring, but I'm going to rectify that in spring of 2021. But at its peak, at the peak of the season, so in that late May, early June, whenever, time frame, have you got a rough idea as to, on, I'll say a Saturday, how many boats actually are on the water in the city limits or launching in the city limits?
In the city, so the river's tidal, of course, as you know, and as the month of May moves along, the fish move up with the water. So they're moving up to the estuary where they're eventually going to spawn. So, the first couple of weeks in May, you'd certainly see, I call it a few boats, but it's actually, over 100 spread across the river system. But then as you get into that long weekend in May, for those guys that aren't participating in some of those smallmouth tournaments, there could be anywhere from 200 to 300 boats in the river system. And then outside the boundaries, if you go up the Norwest River, which is up towards the Sunny Corner, Metapanaghiag area where the First Nations live, their river system is just jam-packed, and it's not that wide, but yet anywhere in that area, you're going to see another 300 boats. So, there's some significant investments being made to actually, chase this fish or these fish. And I know there's a couple of million of them there, so there's a couple more million boats that can make their way into the river system too.
I mean, there is no question. If you haven't been to Miramichi yet, this city is a place that has recognized, that the fishing is a major part of everyday life there. And on that note, Jeff, are there any opportunities for, business development, that revolves around this fishery as far as the city's concerned?
Yeah, for sure. So you guys have met a couple of the guys that have recently understood the opportunity that exists here with that fishery. So I think when you guys were down, you met with Big Rig Tackle. Those guys hooked you up with some rigging.
Absolutely.
You met Brian Gray from Miramichi Sportfishing. Those folks, those guys are new kids on the block. They just started those businesses up a couple of years ago. They saw those opportunities. So in a city of 18,000, there's one small, well-known tackle shop that's running. That's and that's Big Rig Tackle. Now there's a couple other places you can always buy them at the big box stores, your gear. But these guys are Miramichiers making gear, selling it, and really doing it day to day. So certainly there is some opportunities with other tackle shops. There's lots of opportunities for sport tours. So in the spring, we've got that quick run, and as you guys experienced in the fall, we've got that longer run. So it starts in September and runs all the way through to the end of October. So there's certainly some opportunities there, and if you're interested in those things, I certainly encourage you to reach out to my department, and we'll try to hook you up with the right people to get you in business.
You mentioned some key things. So Big Rig Tackle, definitely shout out to those guys. They make the high-low rig that you might have heard about that everybody's using. They make it right there in the shop. They've got live bait. We had a chance to go visit them when we were there. We got our stuff from them. We should have a video actually up, Donnie, real soon about your conversation with Big Rig Tackle, Dan over there. And another key thing you just mentioned, Jeff, Brian Gray. So Brian Gray is a partner with the city, and he's an official guide that offers guided service for fishing there, right?
That's right. Yeah. So last year, Brian approached us. We were looking for this type of service. So, when you think about salmon fishing, when a visitor comes to that lodge, it's pretty much all inclusive. So you stay at the location. Your guide takes you out because they have to, especially if you're in private water or from out of province. And you go through your morning. You have a great fish. They bring you back to the lodge. You have that, lovely meal, little siesta, and then in the evening you're back out fishing again. In Miramichi, it's a little bit different. So you can fish all day long when the stripers are in season in the spring and in the fall. But sometimes if you really want to get over top of them, you need to be in that boat. And Brian Gray and his team at Miramichi Sportfishing certainly do a great job of getting you right over top of those fish to make sure that you're going to get them in the boat. So that's something that's very important, is to understand that those guys really know what they're doing. I bought my own boat a couple of years ago. I've got some gear on it, right? and I think I know what I'm doing. But when you get a guy that is able to say right there's a fish, drop your line or throw it out, 20 feet out off the boat, they're coming to you. And the next thing you know, you got fish on your hook. That's something to be said. And there's the other guy that hangs out with me there, the other Jeff. He's pretty good at that too.
He's okay, but we're not going to talk about him yet. Yeah. He's not that good. No doubt about it. Big shout out to Brian for sure.
I want to give Brian. Yeah. I want to give Brian props. I got a chance to spend a day on the boat with Brian when we were up there recently, and he's definitely top notch in what he's doing. He's got the equipment that his customers are going to need. He's got, he's invested in finding new fish. When I'm looking at a Garmin Live Scope system, I know this man is serious about getting his clients fish, because that wasn't a cheap investment on his part. And he's going to, he's got the best equipment possible to make sure he has happy clients at the end of the day. Jamie Monroe, congratulations to you. 38 inches, 19 pounds. That's an awesome fish for you, man. I saw you just got another good one over the weekend as well. And Blair Cox saying amazing to see how much sport fishing has grown over the past several years. 20 years ago, there was very little. Yeah. And, hopefully with folks like Mr. MacTavish and Mr. Despres and, that Wilson guy that we're going to talk to as well, and maybe a little bit of the work we're doing, hopefully that this is going to continue to grow.
Absolutely. On that note, I think it's time to bring in the big gun. We saved him for last, and I think we're going to keep you on, Jeff, because I think you guys obviously are literally married at the hip in partnership and a collaborative effort that helped put Miramichi on the map as far as striped bass goes. He is the co-host of the Miramichi Striper Cup. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a tournament partner of mine personally, and he's just a fun dude to be around. Let's bring him on. What's going on, Jeff?
Great watching the show, boys. Good job, Jeff. Excellent. Yeah.
Jeff Wilson, your name obviously synonymous with striped bass and the Miramichi Striper Cup. Jeff MacTavish was mentioning that you might have had something to do with getting that event on. Why don't you elaborate a little bit about how this whole thing started?
Well, as Jeff mentioned, sometimes it's just luck. And, I had spent a number of the previous years up there fishing by myself, trying to tell stories of catching 50 or 60 fish a day. And nobody was believing me because I'm a fisherman. So they were all like that big. And so no one believed me. I talked to a bunch of people. I talked to Mercury Marine, actually. And I said, Mercury, if I started a tournament, would you guys support it? And they absolutely. So the first call I made was to the city. I got told of the ex-mayor, Jerry Cormier, great fellow, rest in peace, Jerry. And he immediately said, the guy you got to talk to is Jeff MacTavish. And boy, that was, I think, Jeff, 95 days before the first event.
Yeah.
So we got together and started this really quickly. Talked to Jeff. I want to do it right away. As he said it, he had just talked about it the night before. So I think I sent like a 5-year non-disclosure, non-compete agreement. Just my typical training,
Standard issue.
Yeah. And so he said, no, we don't do that with the city. Like, we just shake hands. And we've been operating on a handshake for the last, going on 5 years. And this has got to be one of the most spectacular communities. The support with the mayor and council and Jeff's team and City Works. And, it just couldn't have been a better marriage and really made my job of supporting this community event and really promoting it just a pleasure. It's a passion. It's not a job. It's awesome, right?
Let's just get into it. There's so much to talk about, and I really want to take the time to let the folks home. A lot of people in the Maritimes might have heard about the Striper Cup. Well, tonight you have the city and the promoter here in the house, and we're going to go through exactly. If you haven't been there, we're going to show you what you're missing out on. So let's start with this right here, Jeff. What's this?
That's just our opening signing up on the Friday night. Typically, we get everybody to come to the tourism center or the arena there in the Miramichi. Everybody's signing up. We've got more local vendors and such there. We've got all our sponsors are there. All the sponsors from across the country bring their top dogs down and want to show their gear. So this is just
there too.
Pardon me?
I said Ben Wu was there too.
I was there, absolutely.
Yeah.
But how many people are we talking about in that room at one time?
That's probably about 200-300. I think the awards meeting at the end is thankfully we have the fire marshal there, because I think we go a little over capacity with that. But
all right, so that is the opening ceremony. In other words, this is like the angler meeting, right?
Yeah, we just talk about the rules. We really try and make the rules simple so that everybody can participate. One of the things the city and I really agreed on is this: we want everybody. This is not an exclusive bass event or for people who are pros. This is for the families to get involved. We had 4 people on the boat. It was designed to have a lot of fun, and we have a kids division, and it's really designed to get the whole community behind the effort.
Bass fishing, striped bass fishing is such a perfect activity to get kids hooked, because you're going to get a lot of action. And kids don't care about how big the fish is. That's the thing. No. I've taken so many kids out fishing over the years, and you know what they care about? They care about the action. Yeah. And striped bass provide that action. I mean, look at the smile on this young one here. I mean, who is that, Jeff?
That's my daughter, Kate.
Oh, there you go. And how much does she love this when she gets to go with Dad?
Well, to be honest with you, she'd rather go with Jeff Wilson.
That explains this picture on Jeff Wilson's boat.
That's his boat. Yeah, Daddy, can we go on Jeff's boat? His boat's faster. His boat's better. He's got better gear. I'm like, well, I have to quit my job and fish, I guess.
Yeah, no. She's a real sweetheart too. Like that.
Yeah, it's fun.
You were saying, Donnie?
We're talking about, Jeff was talking about participation and keeping it so everybody could compete. Ben, if you click the screen there, you'll see the question from Blair Cox. Are kayaks welcome too, or is it more powerboat geared? Jeff, do you want to outline the different divisions? Because I'm pretty sure that you encompass just about everybody.
Yeah, we have an individual division that runs from the 1st of May right up until the Friday night of the main boat division event. So you can fish that whole time, kayak, canoe, whatever, and you enter by catch, photo, and release. So, and I believe we have the New Brunswick paddlers come there for an event. I think it's on the Monday of the long weekend. They spend up there, don't they, Jeff?
Yeah. So they've done it twice now.
Yeah. So, they've asked me for this, and when I get 250 boats on a blast off, I can't really have a bunch of kayaks just pile-ons while they race up the Red Bank for the big fish. So it was really a safety issue, but we certainly encourage them to come all through that individual time, and certainly when the paddlers are there on the long weekend on the Monday.
Speaking of takeoff,
that's
honestly, that doesn't even do it justice. To be honest,
it's pretty spectacular. We was nothing to see a couple thousand people lining the shore just to come down and watch that takeoff, and there's usually quite a battle to get on the flare boat for all the politicians to get in the pictures and stuff. And
so that is a shotgun blast off that is traditional.
Yep. Yeah, very.
Very that's a shotgun blast off.
You don't see a lot of shotgun takeoffs anymore.
No, not at all. But the Miramichi Striper Cup does it, and you were mentioning different levels of government here. Check that out.
So this is, David Lametti, the Attorney General. We made a joke last year that we heard there might have been some hanky-panky, so he brought the top cop from Ottawa in, the Attorney General of Canada, and certainly as you see Mayor Lord in there as well. And we actually had Mike Hall in there as well, and Pat Finnegan, the local on the boat. And, one of the comments I got, I had a number of big companies, Berkeley, Shimano, all those guys sent their top dogs down here for the week, actually. This is really becoming the Striper Cup week. And they were on the boat with me. And one of the comments they kept saying was they just couldn't believe how much the whole community, all 3 levels of government got involved. They're all very supportive. And they just don't see that anywhere in Canada, just unheard of.
There is a ton of pricing. I was surprised how much. I mean, when I walked into that room and I saw the tables and tables and tables of gear, how much are we talking about as far as cash and prizes go? I mean, look at this picture here.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate to have some great sponsors. And the last year, we gave away around $110,000, I think, in total. The door prize for the boat division was a boat, motor, and trailer donated by Miramichi Marine there, Paul Murdoch, and then we also had a second boat for the shore division as a boat as a draw prize. It was about $8,000. Jeff and I have been talking about this, trying to get an ATV or something for that next year. And we're gonna keep. It's going to be a challenging year this year coming up, given the COVID and those sorts of things relative to companies' businesses. But one of the businesses that has really flourished during COVID has been fishing equipment, boats, motors, trailers, those sorts of things. Mm-hmm. So I call all the sponsors and make sure their sales guys have a 3-month plan. Their quotas are up to snuff, because if they're not selling right now, we're not getting gifts in the spring. So lots of prizes, mostly I'd say 80% participation. We do a lot of draws so that lots of people get. I think twice now, Jeff, didn't we just bring all the kids up to the front and give them all a prize?
Yeah, a lot of times we're firing stuff into the crowd. We got so much, and there's not enough time to give it all out. So
it's crazy, and it's really great. The sponsors, these guys come. They're at the event.
Well, look at how many people look at this.
Yeah, that's the awards. Yep,
that's crazy.
Those
are all anglers.
Anglers, exactly, and a lot of them brand new anglers in the last 4 years. I mean, when you look around and see the number of boats, motors, trailers, you look by every hotel in the Miramichi, it's booked. I talked to the Rods, Jim Gingrich there last week. He says it's fantastic when the striper, everybody's booked. You talk to the restaurants, and it's just a great thing. And I really take my hat off to Jeff and his team and the whole council to see that. To see what we thought we could do with this. And it wasn't the cup itself. I mean, the cup itself is just a vehicle to bring people to the city of Miramichi and really enjoy the area and enjoy the fishery. And as I said last year, it starts to be a week long. Our plan last year on Thursday night, I was having a Miramichi kitchen party with lobster and beer. And, we're going to keep building that thing out.
Sounds terrible.
Yeah. Was that at the New Maritime Beer Co.?
Yeah, that was something I was. There's so many opportunities and so many. I think we have almost 25 teams from Quebec come down every year, and lots of them were coming. I think actually, Ben, you were there last year and couldn't compete in the tournament. Were you there for a week or something before? Mm-hmm. And we see lots of that. So
yeah, absolutely.
And that's the success. The event is just a vehicle to get people to come there and enjoy it.
But it's certainly, hats off to you guys. Like you said, there's a lot of congrats to be had because, look at that right there. In 2016, what is that, 2 years after you started the event, you received that award?
Yep. Yeah, maybe Jeff can talk to that a little bit. I think we won 2 of them, didn't we, Jeff?
Yeah, we did. So one was for the actually the economic impact of the event. So just the tournament alone is bringing in about $1 million worth of economic impact from basically Thursday to Sunday. And again, you take those numbers that I was telling you about, 200 or 300 boats in the city and 200 or 300 boats up the north and southwest branches of Miramichi all week long for 3 weeks. We're closed in about $8 to $10 million in the month of May alone. And that's a significant amount of money for this community, where we had some struggles there, when the forestry industry closed down, and we were really searching to find out what our next big thing was going to be. And striped bass is it. That's what really turned us around. It's really, it bridges that season. So we got some great snowmobiling goes on. Then we got the spring with the salmon that normally takes place upriver. We were very fortunate that, the striped bass population rebounded when it did. We were able to capitalize in the spring. We got some great festivals that go on in the summer. And now, as you experienced, our fall fishery, that secret that we were trying to keep so that the locals can enjoy it, we're going to have to let that one out of the bag here pretty soon. So
absolutely.
Yeah, I could tell you for sure during one of our episodes going on Wild TV, yeah, Jeff just puts a hammer down. Jeff Wilson joined us along with Brian, and it was just, it's for lack of a better word, redonkulous. So look out for that episode. So, go ahead, Don.
Ben, I just want to take a second if I can, because we are talking to people in the fishing community. Mr. Wilson, I seem to remember one of those awards that you guys won. I think you and I talked about this before. You can correct me if I'm wrong. We're not the 2 finalists for that award. You guys and the Forest Wood Cup.
Yeah, I think Jeff, it was something like that. It was the FLW down in the United States and us in the Miramichi, and we were the only Canadian organization that year. So that was Sports Destination Marketing out of the United States.
The same award that you just showed.
Yeah, so that and that was good. And, the other one was the Economic Development Bank of Canada. I think was the award, Jeff, that you got too, and.
Yeah, it was a marketing award for the efforts that we made. So again, when you look back year one, where we started out with, when I had a local company here embroider a logo that we drafted up in about 20 minutes onto a shirt so we could get down to the Moncton show. And so we get down there, we had a postcards, all we really had, like save the date. We'll figure the rest out. Didn't have one prize.
Yeah. Jeff and I standing in a booth underneath the stairs. Yep, we're having a striper. Everybody, you can't have a tournament like that. Oh, it'll be fine.
Wilson talks to Mercury and says, if we can get a boat, will you give us a motor? Yeah. If we go talk to a boat, if you give us a boat, if we can get a motor, will you give us a boat? Yep. And then we had our first prize.
We had prize up. It's the support though that even these companies they're into it. I mean, when we talk to them, they're really happy to help, and it's the community initiative. I really, I can't say, Buckets and Billy Fligger and Tom King and these are counselors that are down there on Saturday morning, wet to their drawers, helping people load boats. And, a counselor in Miramichi, I don't know what they make, 7,000-8,000 for the whole year. I don't know what it is, but it's not a lot of money. That's just pure community passion.
All the maritime beer you can drink, though, too. So
yeah. But
bonus.
I have to say something here, Jeff, and Bobby had brought up this point. It was an integral part of that dialogue, and I want to give you every opportunity to talk about this because I'm very impressed with this portion or this part of the event that a lot of people might not see, and that is what you're doing for conservation and anything that has to do with taking care of this resource. Why don't you share with us a little bit about that, Jeff Wilson?
Well, conservation is dear to my heart. Catching's way more fun than fishing, so you got to put them back. Funny, the first Striper Cup we had, I was really concerned about conservation. The water temperature was pretty warm. We met a young girl, Danielle. She was actually a PhD student from Acadia University, and met her on the shore during the first weigh-in, and we grabbed her and she wouldn't let her go for the weekend. And that started a relationship with Dr. Trevor Avery, who's with the striped bass research team out of Acadia. And now that's a yearly thing. They bring all their students up. They're taking tests. Dr. Richard Easy's there as well. Any of the fish, we built a striper slide to release them. Any fish that died, I think we only lost 7 fish last year. And those fish, they'll take a slice of their inner ear to determine age. They can they're doing all kinds of great things in tagging, and certainly a great opportunity. And those girls have been and guys, excellent for us. And Jeff and the city jumped on that as one of the pillars of our event, which is, conservation, education, and fun and community. And so they've been excellent. And they look forward. I get emails from them all the time. In fact, I was at a customer in St. Stephen, and Lita, one of the lead girls, happened to be there as a scientist working for them. And I was pretty impressed. She asked me out for lunch, and I was saying, "Well, geez, boy, see that old guy still got it, eh? Still got it." Anyway, but they really
he was really throwing up in her mouth right now.
yeah, probably.
Yeah, but it was great.
All right, you know what? This is a perfect segue. I'm going to bring Bobby back from Fredericton here, so to join the party for a second. Bobby, welcome back.
And I'm back.
Hey,
and you are
Bobby.
back. So here's what I'm hearing, and I want to take the next 15 minutes to kind of have a roundtable discussion about this. You have two communities here, folks, which take fishing seriously. That should mean a lot to you guys, as it does to me, as it does to Donnie, from an angler perspective, because these are communities that recognize that there is opportunity to help support local businesses, that will help support the local economy. And in times of COVID, more important than ever, I think that is a theme that needs to be talked about and promoted. With the Fish East project, our goal is to promote Atlantic Canadian fishing opportunities, and a lot of that has to do with the multi-species. Bobby, you talked about the resource you have in Fredericton with smallmouth bass and musky, especially musky, which is ultra unique to Fredericton, and of course the striped bass, Jeff, that you have in Miramichi. But I think the common thread here, and I'd like to open this up for you guys for dialogue, is what can other communities learn from this conversation? What message do we have for them that maybe help inspire them look into a project or an initiative similar to yours? I'll start with Bobby.
Yeah, certainly. It goes back to the sport tourism motto of, using sport as an economic driver for your community. So while I was backstage by myself, I listened to Jeff and Jeff talk an awful lot about, the economic impact of the event. And Sport Tourism Canada actually has a model called the STEAM model, which helps community assess what an event is worth to them. And, when you start out, quite often you're taking that gamble to grow an event. And, everybody's ambition is to grow an event, especially with natural resources, to turn it into the equivalent of what the Striper Cup is. And, when you're always looking at it, and I was listening to the gentleman talk about, people coming in for a week, but what they don't realize is they're buying their gas there. They're buying food. They're going to the mall. The families are traveling with them. They're filling up accommodation providers, and they're taking that experience back with them. And what you notice is if you have a good time and we as sport tourism hosts entertain, people will come back. So my advice to anybody is do your research. Make sure you have a good product that you can build upon. And don't go into it eyes wide shut. Be prepared. Understand there's a lot of logistics involved with it, especially on the insurance side. And, I heard the gentleman talk about the docking system. There's lots of things to build off of. But if you can find your niche, do it.
What do you think about that, Mr. MacTavish?
I have to agree. The other thing I'd like to add to that is, Bobby probably has the same challenges that I do. I'm competing for municipal resources. So I have to tell my story to my mayor and council, and having champions like yourself or Jeff Wilson that can come and give those testimonials of the experience that they had in your community, explaining, people don't understand until they're actually in that sport, the amount of money that you have to invest to be really good at it, let's say. You can get lucky the first couple of times, but if you want to improve, you're spending money. So, I started out fishing from the shore with my kids with a rod. After a couple of times out in the boat, she's still not happy with me. I share a similar couch in my house, Bobby, that those first few days of owning that boat where I slept. But now that we have it, the kids are out with me and they truly enjoy it. But getting right back to that, you have to, as a I guess an enthusiast, or as the champion of the sport tourism initiative, have to convince and show your council how important and how much of an economic opportunity this can be. And yes, there's investments that can be made, but once those people start showing up and that community starts to embrace them, your locals enjoy it and your visitors will enjoy it. So it's very important to be that champion, have that data. We use the same STEAM model, Bobby. So that's where we generate our, estimates of about $8 million in the month of May. And I mean, you really need to convince that council that money can be yours if you promote it properly.
Speaking of promotion, Jeff Wilson being the premier promoter of the event, Jeff, other promoters watching this, hearing what Bobby and Jeff have to say, maybe getting inspired to doing something in their community. What challenges did you face that you might want to make them aware of, to give them some advice to get them off on the right foot?
Well, one of the things, we just been asked the last couple of years to do a fall event, and I keep telling Jeff and city and council is make sure that it'd be great to let somebody do one, but you can only have and get all the resources and all the backing and everything to one event. One of the things, the mistakes I've seen is people trying to do too much with too little, and it's in a big splash in a small pond. It's going to ripple for a long time. And little stones in a little pond all the time is not going to happen. So, when you pick your partner, if you are a town, and I have a place in Nakawik, and I talk about the opportunities there, Destination Nakawik. When you pick your partner, what is the partner going to bring in terms of the excitement? And that's my job, is to bring that excitement to the thing, to continuously talk about it and really pump that up. Well, you can't do a good job if you're doing 10 of those, and I think that's the biggest thing. If you're going to pick a partner, make sure the partner is committed to that event. Make sure that the sponsors are committed to that event. And when I say committed to the event, it's nice that Shimano gives us a bunch of stuff, but it's really nice that the director for Canada comes and supports it for the week. Or it's really nice that Abu Garcia gives us $12,000 worth of gear, but it's really nice that all their reps are here and they come to our event and they talk to the anglers and they participate in the event. And so they can't do that 12 times a year. You're really lucky if you can get them there once. So that's the key, is big impact. The other thing that worked well for the Striper Cup is the shoulder month. It's in May. So when you talk to a hotel, they're anxious for you to come and help them. They don't want to talk to you in July. They're already busy in July. So the shoulder month in October, I know, Bobby, that's something that you guys are after in Fredericton. I think that's a great idea. It's a little harder in the summer to try and get a hotel to help, but certainly when in the fall comes, it can. So those are the things I'd say. Just make sure that you don't try and, do too much. Just pick one good event. The province is blessed with so many good opportunities. And the other thing is to make sure that we keep these resources. I mean, it would be a real shame for that to go downhill. And it has that potential, as Jeff mentioned. The bass have been around the Miramichi forever, but in 1995, 1996, they almost went extinct. And, that can happen really quick. They went from 175,000 to the school to 13,000 in one winter. And so, that's an important thing, that conservation. And part of my job is working with GFO for the city and really advocate. And believe me, it's a pretty lonely seat at some of those advisory board meetings. Jeff's been there, and I'm pretty much the only guy talking bass. I'm just doing the rope-a-dope. Like one thing that really speaks loudly is that STEAM economic model. You can't argue with data.
No, right? You cannot. And I'm gonna pivot this a little bit. So I asked you the question from maybe a municipality that might recognize they have something to offer. I'm gonna flip it. What about for those potential fishing guides? What do they need to be able to approach a municipality and say, hey, I'd like to partner with you. I think I have a specialty service that I can offer. I'm equipped to do such things. What are my steps to become partners with a municipality in both promotion and tourism? I'm going to start with you, Jeff MacTavish.
All right. So right now, every business that's operating in New Brunswick needs to have their COVID operational plan. So we ask to make sure that they have it in place. And of course, if they're willing to provide us with a copy of that. In our community, we have a couple of unique opportunities. So we have a place you've been to at Ritchie Wharf, which has a number of little shops and boutiques, and we have some vacancies in some of those places. So we actually have something to offer if we want to give them a location. Must have your liability insurance, and you must be reputable. So we want to hear that you know what you're doing. Get some testimonials. Let me hear who your partners are. In Brian Gray's case, we had a long-standing relationship with Miramichi Marine, and Paul Murdoch and his team had nothing but good things to say about Mr. Gray. So we were happy to team up with him. And finally, we want to make sure that you have, you're able to fund yourself and market yourself too. So we want to make sure that we can refer people to you. We know you're going to be there and you're dedicated, and that you're going to be open to take some clients. So we try to help with that stuff. We'll certainly put you on our website, and we'll try to send referrals your way. But you need to be there to answer the phone. So that's and Brian's always there. So.
And I want Bobby to give you the opportunity to answer that as well. But I'm going to add a little twist to it. What is your wish list now that it's kind of like an emerging market for you, an emerging sector? What's your wishes? What would you like to see happen, or as far as services or opportunities in the next 2 to 3 years in Fredericton?
It comes back to is, as Jeff said, it's got to be a quality product, a reliable product in order for us to take a look at things. We quite often in our office have clients who come in that are looking for things to do either for themselves or their spouses and their children as they come in for events. So it has to be somebody has that flexible schedule. So, if I rolled into a community, if I come to Fredericton and I'm in a conference, and my wife who loves fishing almost probably more than I do, to be honest, if she rolls in with me and I want to be able to make a phone call and send her out on the water, I would hope that the host municipality has that contact and somebody reliable. What I'd like to see in the future is, guides such as Straight Back and St. Johnny just continue to do what they do with top of the line. Is there room for more? Probably. But it all comes down to a good business plan, a good business model, and the ability to get out on the water with people. With some people, it's hard to get out if you have a 9-to-5 job and then you want to charter on the evenings and weekends. Those clients may be in for, as I said, business meetings Monday to Friday. So it's having that ability to be flexible and move out with them. But, as much as they're an ambassador for the city, we're ambassadors for them. So it's a two-way relationship. And as both Jeffs alluded to, if we don't have trust with our people and we're not ready to market them and vice versa, it may not be a match. So we want to make sure that, anytime somebody takes somebody out in Fredericton, that they speak highly of Fredericton. They're knowledgeable about Fredericton. If I ask you where to go for dinner, the number 7 on the McDonald's menu isn't going to cut it, but to send them to our great downtown or along the Taproom Trail, that's exactly what we're looking for from our guides locally.
Very, very good. Gentlemen, the time has come. We're at that time, but I want to leave you the opportunity to tell the people who are watching, either live or a little bit later, what message do you have for people who are interested in fishing and maybe wanting to discover the Fredericton area? That's you, Bob.
Absolutely. Well, if Jeff want to talk about Fredericton,
I'll try. It's been a while.
It's speaking from experience. Don't be intimidated. Get out and try. The worst thing you're going to do is catch a fish. You may not know what that fish is, but you'll eventually learn. And as you go into a new community, get out and know some people. Stop and have a conversation. We alluded to the fact earlier that anglers are a very friendly bunch. They will have a conversation with you. They'll pick your brain. You pick theirs. And don't be afraid. When you get into the city itself, especially in Fredericton, you can see a lot of the restaurants from the river. Get hungry. Come into town. You can also cook your catch. So there's a lot of nifty things that can happen. And just as long as you're having fun and enjoying, it's as Jeff alluded to earlier, we're not catching, we're fishing. It's hard. And just have fun with it. And, especially in these COVID times, I know a lot of people have got out on the water. The water's been very busy this year. And it's an absolute therapy model for a lot of people being out there with nature in their element.
And where can people find information about fishing around Fredericton?
If you want to, frederictontourism.ca is a great place to start. And in our visitor guide, we have contacts for both of the sport fishing guides we talked about earlier. There'll be some videos popping up shortly. We're putting more marketing behind the St. John River itself. So, always tune in, keep posted, and send me an email.
Check out Fish East episodes. We're all over Fredericton. Nudge. I also get the chance to write some articles for Fredericton Tourism with regards to fishing around the town. So, Bobby, thanks a lot for joining us tonight.
And don't forget to head to Minnow Tackle Shop.
Minnow Tackle Shop. Go see Amanda.
From Minnow.
At Minnow. Minto, New Brunswick, the coal mining capital.
There you go. All right, Bobby. Thanks so much. Take care. Okay, I think I'm going to ask Jeff MacTavish this question. Jeff, last words, closing words. What message do you have for fishing fans who are curious about discovering Miramichi for the first time?
Well, it's funny. I was listening to Bobby talk about promoting the community and not being shy. And so when the pandemic hit in March, we pulled all our advertising. We had an event coming up, and we did not promote fishing on the Miramichi River, and we still got 200 to 300 boats a day through the whole month of May. So I think Bobby's right. Like, don't be shy to ask somebody around here. The guys in the tackle shops and the guys like Brian Gray and even the outfitters like, Wilson Sporting Lodge and Upper Oxbow and Country Haven, they've all changed their models now to service the striped bass industry because there's so many fish and so many people interested in it. So, feel free to reach out to me and my staff at rediscovermiramichi.com. We've got some listings on there for some various operators or outfitters that are willing to take you out. Pop in to see the guys at Big Rig. Dan knows his stuff. He's caught some monster fish in his lifetime and loves to build those high lows, especially in the fall. And if you aren't sure that the Striper Cup's for you, come a week before and enjoy the Miramichi and just see what it's all about. You can fish from the shore. We got lots of locations to get you there. You don't need a boat. If you got one, we got a place for you to get it in the water safely and get it out. And we certainly want you to have a great time. And any questions, you can certainly reach out to me and my staff.
Awesome. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us tonight and being so insightful. And we look forward to showcasing your fishery soon on the Fish East episode.
Thanks, Ken and Don. See you, Wilson.
Guys.
See you, Jeff.
Last but not least, I suppose, we have Jeff Wilson. And Jeff, I want to leave you with the closing word. If you haven't participated in the Miramichi Striper Cup, Jeff Wilson, what message do you have for anglers?
Well, I've been tirelessly promoting angling in the province of New Brunswick and Atlantic Canada for over 30 years. Started with smallmouth and just continued into the striped bass. And the number one thing is get out there. You can't be embarrassed. I remember going in tournaments and catching one fish and thinking, oh my gosh, the fish aren't biting. And you talk to an angler and he gives you a little tidbit. And I certainly happy to help anybody. I've done it many times. It's one of the best things that possibly an angler can do is to pass on a little bit of knowledge to the people. The Striper Cup is not intimidating. Join us. We're going to help you. We'll get the boat in. We've helped families. We're there to help. We have a great staff with Aaron and Ryan Hood and Nelson and Noel Thorne, and we have the weigh-in people, and we're there to help. And this ground search and rescue team, they've just done a great job. And so you don't have to be embarrassed. We had a team last year, mom and dad and the two kids. I met them at Bass Pro. And they decided to come, and they came to me afterwards and said, Jeff, the kids just loved it, and you guys really looked after us. And that's the thing. We're there to help, and just come on up, and I'll personally look after you. There's no question. Might even give you the odd secret bait to use or something like that.
Man, you did for me the first time I showed up. I'll tell you that.
Well, catching's more fun than fishing, so let's get you on some fish. And we hooked and released last year. I think it was somewhere around 2.3 tons of bass, and we lost 7. And
wow.
So it's a great message, that hook and release.
Yeah.
Take one for a lunch, that's good, but put them back for the kids. That's the best.
What's the website, Jeff? What's the website?
MiramichiStriperCup.ca.
MiramichiStriperCup.ca, of course, on your Facebook page. And Jeff can be seen frequently also around Fish East properties like our website and whatnot. So don't be shy.
You might even see him on an episode or two.
Yeah, an article. Thank you, Jeffrey.
Okay,
appreciate it.
Thanks, boys. If you get a chance, you can read some of my stuff on Fishing Canada and, of course, JeffWilsonProAngler.com. Okay.
There's the plug. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Jeff.
Oh, Donnie, here we go. Wrapping up episode 6, fishing tourism. I think we got it accomplished. What we really wanted to do, you and I talked about this before going on live, was we wanted to give people a glimpse of what are the inner workings, behind some of these big events, behind some of these big initiatives. And so people can understand that it's a lot of effort, but with the right plan and right people and right, things in place, it could be fruitful. And hopefully we inspired some people to maybe follow suit.
I hate to say this, but I think there's some misconceptions about the big events. People think that the organizers are getting rich and that they're fruitful for the communities, and they're an event. Realistically, they're about a passion, about money. Like I said, it's fruitful for the community, but it's an addiction that we all suffer from. But it's unlike alcohol or drugs. It's not necessarily an addiction that we're seeking for a cure for.
No, not at all. But hats off to these guys, for what they do, and hopefully this inspires somebody else to do it. Again, we've got, how many episodes are we finishing off with for this year?
For the TV show?
Yeah.
There'll be 9 episodes total.
9 episodes, folks. We're coming at you with 9 Fish East episodes. More details on those episodes will be coming soon. And if you don't know already, it's coming to Wild TV starting the last week of December. Hey, Donnie, thanks for joining me for another one.
Looking forward to the next one. And we'll see you on the weekend when we go shoot some more for Fish East episode.
Whatever.
We'll
see. Have a good night, bud.
Have a good night.
There you have it, folks. Thanks for joining us for another Fish East Live. Big shout out to Jeff MacTavish from the city of Miramichi, Bobby Despres from the city of Fredericton, and of course, Jeff Wilson from the Striper Cup. Hey, hopefully you've been inspired or at least got a glimpse and understand a little bit more the opportunities that exist. I think for me personally, I think all of Atlantic Canada is literally sitting on a gold mine. And I don't mean gold from a monetary standpoint. I mean gold from an opportunity standpoint. I've had the luxury and privilege to visit some areas that I've never been to in my life. And I can tell you for sure there are some world-class opportunities in fishing that goes on right here on the East Coast. Hey, I'm your host, Ben Wu. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Fish East, as well as on our website, fisheast.com. And we'll see you right back here in 2 weeks for another episode of Fish East Live. Fish on, Fish East.